it's Jonelle. Today we're going to go over the parent consent page. It does say parent consent with Medi-Cal. So this is the page that we're going to be going over today. At the beginning of the meeting, so it depends. You guys can send this out at the beginning of the meeting or you can do it after. But if you do want to, you can pass it out at the beginning. Have the IEP team members that are there at the IEP sign just here in the participants section. This is where everyone who is attending the IEP is going to sign in. You have areas for the parents, for the student and or adult student, gen ed teacher, admin, education specialist, and then other participants at the IEP meeting. Make sure that they sign and that you also have their title and to add the date. Okay. If you are going to have a part 2 meeting, or if this is a part 2 meeting, where the participants had originally signed, they're just going to initial and redate to show that they had met for the second part. Okay. Just make sure that you know that the IEP team actually consists of the case manager, parent and guardian, student if appropriate, related service providers if appropriate, administrator, gen ed teacher, and if necessary, an interpreter for your family. Okay? So that's the top portion. As we scroll down, we actually get to the consent section. And we only need one parent or guardian with educational rights or an adult student who is not conserved to consent to an IEP. So there are a few different sections that I'm going to go over. The first is I agree to all parts of the IEP. Most of our IEP's parent is going to check that. I agree with the IEP with the exception of, meaning there are areas of the IEP that the family or the adult student does not agree upon, and they would need to indicate and specify the parts of the IEP that they do not agree with. And if that does happen then, and the parent signs, or the adult student, then you guys continue, as the year progresses, continue to meet often to figure out why they don't agree and what can you guys do to help support that. All right? The section that says, I decline the offer of initiation of SPED services. Please note that every time we hold an IEP meeting and we're discussing free and appropriate public education, so FAPE, we are initiating services every time we are discussing an offer of FAPE. So if they declined to the offer of initiation of SPED services, and they're declining any of the special education services that we are offering. Just because it says initiation does not only mean it's their initial IEP meeting. Okay? But they are choosing to decline all services that we are offering. I understand that my child is not eligible for special education. This is if the student is an initial IEP and a DNQ. So you'll hear that a lot. DNQ meaning does not qualify. Okay? And the last box says, I understand that my child is no longer eligible for special ed, that the student had been tested and exited from special education. Okay? So that means they would check this, and any of the boxes that they are choosing, make sure that they are initialing next to it. All right. Below is the signature. So this section is it can be signed by one or both parents, but essentially they are signing to the above checked area. All right. Make sure they're indicating who it is that's signing, their signature, and then a date. Parent involvement. Just make sure that they have had a chance to actually complete this section and they're marking the corresponding box and initialing next to it. If you look, I will bring you back to the top. If you look at the top of the box or the form, there is a box called Clear Form. If you hit that prior to printing this out, it'll clear everything because you don't want to go into an IEP with any pre-checked boxes or pre-checked areas, especially whether it involves parent involvement, because then all of these things look like it's predetermination. So make sure that your page is clean and clear when you're going into a meeting, if it is your part 1. Okay. This is Medi-Cal billing. If the parents sign, have them also check and initial the box. This section is not mandatory for parents to complete, nor does it affect monies that the families might be eligible to receive through Medi-Cal. But this area does indicate, if they do sign, that they are in agreement with the school or LEA sharing information with Medi-Cal for billing purposes. This can be revoked at any time, but essentially it allows the school district to receive any federal reimbursements for health services provided to Medi-Cal eligible students while they're attending school. These funds can be reinvested back into the school program to benefit students and families. So essentially, FUSD can bill for assessments and services in the areas of speech, psychology, occupational therapy, physical therapy, and nursing services, whether the student qualifies for an IEP or not. All right, so I will also add to the bottom of the video the information to our handbook about Medi-Cal so that you guys can have that to provide to the parents so that they understand what this Medi-Cal section is, okay? And this, for SEIS purposes, did the parent consent to Medi-Cal billing? Yes or no? And if they've revoked consent, what date did they revoke it? All right, and then you have these last few sections or checkboxes down here. In this section, you're going to make sure that the parents check the box and initial next to it after they have received the following. A copy of the procedural safeguards, that's parent rights. A copy of assessment reports, if applicable. A copy of the IEP. And the fourth box is that they've received notification and protections available to parents when the LEA requests to access medical benefits. So this is the Medi-Cal information that I was just talking about, and we'll provide it below the video. And the last box here, it says student enrolled in private school by their parents, refer to an ISP if appropriate. So only have the parent check if the parent has chose to place their student in a private school at their discretion and expense. If they are placing the student in private school, an ISP can be completed. Okay? All right, guys. Oh, there's a clear form button at the bottom as well. So there's one at the top and one at the bottom. So just make sure to clear your forms before you go into your meeting so nothing is predetermined. All right. Thank you.